The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
In storm-ravaged Georgia, Kamala Harris comforting victims of Hurricane Helene, serving meals and handing out water to community members in need.
The coordination that we have dedicated ourselves to will be long-lasting to get families, to get residents, to get neighborhoods back up and running.
Harris spent the day touring the state, meeting with local officials on the ground and thanking first responders.
So I'm here to thank you. I know these are long days for you.
With Harris in Georgia, her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, hitting the crucial battleground of Pennsylvania, fresh off of the debate stage.
Anybody watch the debate last night?
For Walz, it was a sometimes shaky performance, but the campaign seizing on this moment, Walz denouncing Donald Trump's actions on January 6th and calling out his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, for refusing to admit Trump lost the 2020 election.
This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
The Harris campaign eager to highlight the moment, immediately cutting it into a new ad.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer.
But Vance had an otherwise strong performance, and today in Michigan, a victory lap.
Now, we of course had a debate last night, a vice presidential debate. I thought it went pretty well.
Vance working to soften Trump on some critical issues like abortion, as the former president has bragged about appointing 3 of the justices who overturned Roe versus Wade.
My party, we've got to do so much better of a job at earning the American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. And I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump and I are endeavoring to do.
Believe me.
Wait, did he, what? Trust them. Trust Donald Trump on abortion. Let's trust J.D. Vance on abortion. Really, that is their best pitch. That is, that's what they have. That's all they put in their back pocket for that. And, you know, it's very strange. It's very creepy how, you know, most people who watched the debate, most people who watched it thought that Tim Walz won the debate. They thought he had the most memorable lines. They thought that he had the upper hand on fact management. They knew he wasn't gaslighting them. He wasn't asking them to, you know, trust him in areas in which he has shown himself to be on the polar opposite side of what the majority of Americans want. Like, for instance, on gun legislation, 98% of Americans would like red flag laws and background checks before you can go out and buy an Uzi. You know what I'm saying? But not them. They just gaslighted their way all throughout. And then the cherry on the cake of the argument was, we've done such a terrible job convincing you that we're not going to take your rights away. We've done it so badly that we actually went ahead and took your rights away. Whoops, don't you hate it when we actually do, something that we said we were going to do and then turn around and say we didn't really do it and we won't do it anymore. You just have to trust us. What? I mean, it was very sick, very sad. So anyway, the numbers are in 43 million Americans watched that debate. 43 million Americans. And I can promise you, the only thing that they remember from that debate is J.D. Vance not answering why Donald Trump won't admit that he lost the election like 4 or 5 years later. Why won't he just admit that? And why did you dodge that? Why are you punting on that particular issue? Why don't you just say because he's a sore loser or because he doesn't think he did lose or whatever you're going to say? But to just, deflect like that, that's all he did. And that's all anybody's going to remember. And I'll tell you something, Kamala Harris's campaign is going to make sure that's what you remember. Because the amount of hypocrisy that went into, that presentation was just, it was just insane. And then also, I got to tell you, Donald Trump, the devil went down to Georgia, right? I mean, he went to Valdosta and Kamala went to Augusta. They went down to Georgia. They don't want to go to North Carolina unless and until they're not getting in the way of delivering food and water and all these things. But Donald Trump went down there, and instead of offering he didn't even bring a door prize. He didn't even bring like a pair of gold sneakers. He didn't even bring turtle wax or any consolation prize that you could ever, not even rice-a-roni. Nothing as a consolation prize. He brought absolutely nothing down there except politics. He went down there and politicized and lied to these people's face. I mean, I can't believe it. He went down there and he said that Joe Biden couldn't be reached by the governor, Brian Kemp. That's what he told people. He went down there and he politicized and not only politicized, but he lied. He lied. And Brian Kemp had, corrected him like almost in real time. Brian Kemp was like, I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, I talked to him, or he asked me, is there anything that I needed? And I told him, not right now. I mean,
we do need some help from the federal government. They have to get together, ideally with the governor. The governor needs to, he's been trying to get them, and I'm sure they're going to come through. But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him.
I just spoke. The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
How easy is it to debunk these lies? I mean, it's like I could do it one hand tied behind my back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, really, it's not a heavy lift. It's not a big damn deal. So, and here's another little factoid, okay? Here's another little deet. I don't know how many of you really want to talk about Jack Smith's new filing with the court. I'm prepared to talk about it if you want to. There are 11 things in that filing that maybe you didn't know about. It's 165 pages long. You know what stuns me is that Jack Smith could put all of Donald Trump's criming into 165 measly pages. That's really shocking. I mean, it was very tiny font. It was very, very small, very teeny. I mean, there's so many crimes that were committed along the way to January 6th that it's unbelievable. And yes, we found out for sure that, when Bannon got on his show that day and said, tomorrow all hell is going to break loose, just strap in. That was because he talked to Donald Trump. And, they were coordinating the mob on Steve Bannon's war room, the whole time. They were putting together the fake elector scheme, and then if that didn't work, they were, saying, use these people, make them riot. Swear to God, make them riot. A guy named Mike Roman actually said that. And they said, find stuff, find it. Yeah, they go, well, the vote counts are, coming out right. The poll books match the number of votes. And well, figure out something that doesn't and give it to me. Something, I need to litigate something. Give me something. And then they said, well, we don't have anything. And the same thing, remember Rusty Bowers in Arizona said the same thing, that Giuliani and all of them, they were going to come and they were going to bring evidence. And they never came and they never brought any evidence. And Rudy said, well, we have theories. We just don't have evidence, right? Remember Rusty Bowers? He testified January 6th. So all that's documented in there, and we could talk about it. But it is shocking that measly little 165 pages can, encompass all of the evil and criming. It was criminal. Everything that they did was criminal. Including Donald Trump. He was criminal. But here's the thing about the Helene before we move on. Okay, so when you look at this FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, when you look at them, they need funding. Congress actually passed FEMA funding in 2021. This is the funding that's trying to get dispersed to the affected areas. Do you know that Ted Cruz in Texas, Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, her people were affected. Rick Scott in Florida, of all places. Roger Wicker in Mississippi. Last I checked, you got a big Gulf Coast there, too. And a whole bunch of others voted no to fund FEMA. And now Donald Trump is out there not even offering any assistance or consolation prizes to any of these people. He didn't even bring paper towels to throw at them. Nothing. Hypocrites.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Flashback.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
And it has to be vindicated to save our republic.
We will win this fight, or America will step off into 1,000 years of darkness.
The battle cries wrapped in their delusional lies about a stolen election. Steve Bannon, whose Twitter and YouTube channels were removed for rhetoric like this,
I'd put the heads on pikes.
Spent weeks on a podcast he calls The War Room, comparing the Republicans' fight to overturn a legitimate election to historic periods in the American Revolution and World War II.
I've met so many people through my life said, man, if I was a revolution, I would be with Washington and Trenton. Well, you know, this is for your time in history.
Ominously, the day before the siege.
It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen, okay? It's going to be quite extraordinarily different. And all I can say is strap in. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day.
The president's own lawyer, a constant war room guest with nonstop disinformation about election fraud.
We should have stood up to Hitler. Stand up to these people, it'll stop.
All the president's liars were all on the same page. January 6th would be monumental.
Let's have trial by combat.
Hello.
Roger Stone, the originator of the Stop the Steal slogan, would speak in apocalyptic terms to protesters.
This is nothing less than an epic struggle for the future of this country between dark and light.
Yes, but, you know, I said be peaceful is what I said, even though I didn't lift a finger once they actually shot somebody and caused somebody to die. You know, they trampled a lady. We always forget about the lady that was trampled, right? By the you know, back the blue people with their, you know, I support the cops while I beat them with my back the blue flag, or my support. What was that? The Blue Lives Matter. Yes. So long ago. And yet we're still suffering. We're still suffering from all of these lies. It's just, you know, pretty freaking amazing. Now, what you'll notice is not just that, Steve. So what we found out in this filing by Jack Smith, and the reason why the filing had to be made is, and it did have to be made, is because the Supreme Court forced him to make it. Right. And Donald Trump forced the timing of it. What? Yes. Donald Trump has been delaying the obvious day in court unless he wins the election, okay, and then he will pardon himself, or, you know, tell his newly installed, you know, attorney general, another Bill Barr wannabe, never was, never will be, with zero integrity or zero fidelity to the law itself and only fidelity to Donald Trump. They will dismiss the charges or say that there's nothing prosecutable here, or he'll self-pardon. I don't know how, but you'll never see. He'll never, ever, ever get his day in court for what he planned. And it seems now from this filing that the insurrection was always a tool in the toolbox, and they would use it if all else failed. Now, what you notice in that report is that Rudy Giuliani is in that report, like all over that report. And Rudy Giuliani is all over the January 6th, investigation, and all over the January 6th report from Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, the bipartisan January 6th Select Committee, right? So that tells you something, doesn't it? It tells you that Donald Trump used a private attorney to do crimes, right? And that he wasn't acting as president of the United States. If he were acting as president of the United States and his legitimate goal was to uncover any fraud in the election, he would have been able to use Bill Barr and the Attorney General of the United States of America and the Justice Department to look into fraud, legitimate fraud. However, there wasn't any. So Donald Trump used his private attorney as a private candidate, as a private person trying to get elected president. He was not using his official duties as president to uncover fraud, because there wasn't any fraud. And we know that because there were 61 lawsuits and he lost all of them. And not all of them were lost because of standing. Some of them lost because there was no evidence attached to the filings. There was no evidence of fraud. There was nothing demonstrably harmful that happened in the election. There was nothing that would have changed the outcome in the election. There wasn't any massive anything that was bad that happened in the election against either candidate. It was a free and fair election, and everyone knew it. And every single agency that had jurisdiction over the election, like CISA, and, they looked at the computers and these claims that, Italian thermostats were changing votes. And now we know that Donald Trump knew that there was no fraud, and that when he was talking to Sidney Powell on the phone, he put her on mute, according to witnesses and co-conspirators, and there are 90 of them. I mean, it's a huge conspiracy. It's huge. And if you're Donald Trump's defense attorney, like Rudy, you're drinking, basically. You're drinking and you're sweating at, Four Seasons Landscaping, because you understand how many people there are that have seen the crime. You understand how many people there are that you, as the defense attorney, need to talk to. You need to cut deals with them or whatever you're going to do. And you can't, because there's just too damn many of them. And all of this is documented in these 165 pages that Jack Smith amassed, because the Supreme Court said a president of the United States who is acting in his official capacity as president, executing his official duties as president, has immunity. But he does not have that immunity if he's acting as a private person. And so Jack Smith had to refile everything to show that he has what he needs to show to the court and a jury that Donald Trump was acting as a private candidate, that he was not acting as the president of the United States. Because if he were, he would have had Bill Barr looking into fraud and finding it. What he had was Bill Barr looking into fraud and not finding it. And so he moved to Rudy Giuliani, private attorney. Now, you might say, how come they don't have attorney-client privilege even if he was private? Because you know that there is an exception. There's an exception to almost everything in the law, and the exception to attorney-client privilege is called the crime fraud exception. And what it says is that if you and your attorney are plotting a caper, you're plotting a felony, you're plotting a crime, there is no attorney-client privilege. And that's exactly why there is no attorney-client privilege, and exactly why Rudy Giuliani got disbarred for life in Washington by the Bar Association. Rudy Giuliani's daughter has written a very compelling and tugs at your heartstrings a little. Not that much, but a little. Her name's Caroline Rose Giuliani. She's his daughter. She grew up in Gracie Mansion. She is begging you not to vote for Donald Trump because she says she watched her father's world crumble into ash when he hooked up with the Donald.
To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Congressman, your thoughts, your reaction to this filing?
Well, it's an extraordinary filing because it fills in 1,000 details of what exactly the plan was to overthrow the 2020 presidential election. And it goes meticulously state by state, explaining the defendant, Donald Trump's various calls into state election officials and Republican officials in order to get them to set aside the real popular election. And remember, the legal frame for this is that Jack Smith is showing that Donald Trump was not acting like a president of the United States trying to faithfully execute the laws. It's not as if he was calling any place other than states where he lost. It's not as if he was calling any election officials other than Republican election officials that he thought he could browbeat into caving into him. And he was literally fabricating claims and evidence as he went. And all of these people would say, well, send us the evidence. And then they never sent them any evidence, to the point where some of the people on Trump's team said, stop calling us. We don't have any evidence. There's nothing there. And the various election officials just were reporting there's no evidence. There's not a page of evidence. There's nothing there. So a lot of this was done by the January 6th committee, but there's a lot of new stuff in there, and we learn a lot more about the plan to try and coerce Vice President Mike Pence to step outside of his constitutional role and just declare Donald Trump the winner. This was something that seemed new to me, not just returning or rebuffing electoral college votes to the state legislatures, but just declaring that these counterfeit electors were real and declaring Trump the winner, which was apparently their first foray into the lawlessness of January 6th. They wanted just to get Pence to do this. And then you can see the rage that they then instilled in the mob, which was chanting, hang Mike Pence, right, when he wouldn't step outside of his constitutional role. That, of course, blends into now the presidential campaign, as J.D. Vance is saying he would have done what Mike Pence refused to do. I mean, the reason why Mike Pence is not on the ticket is because he refused to give in to Donald Trump's orders to steal the election. But J.D. Vance is saying he would gladly have done what Pence honorably refused to do, as he kept his oath of office.
They're eating the pets.
I mean, this is what he's put together. A guy who self-emulates J.D. Vance and will do what Mike Pence, the most conservative person you ever knew or saw as vice president or in any congressional seat ever. Mike Pence, okay, governor of Indiana, would not just declare that the fake electors were the real electors and that Donald Trump won. Wouldn't do it. And so at 2:24 in the afternoon, Donald Trump tweets, Mike Pence didn't have the courage, while he's watching the violence on the TV inside the White House dining room, sitting there watching it and doing absolutely nothing. I mean, the dereliction of duty is just, so easily observed. And we knew this, but what we didn't know is that Mike Pence was trying to, treat Donald Trump as if he were a hostage, a hostage taker, and talk to him. Mike Pence was talking to Donald Trump during this whole debacle, okay, before he was evacuated from the Capitol. He was talking to Donald Trump and he was trying to say to him, listen, just don't concede, but, just call them off. I call off the mob because it's getting really, like somebody was shot here already and they're going to, evacuate me. And, listen, you can run for president again in 2024. He's literally talking to Donald Trump as if Donald Trump is a hostage-taking, like Dog Day Afternoon, okay? Like he's Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon, trying to talk him off the ledge, to try and get him to call the mob off and not to have him murdered. But of course, he says, no, I'm not going to call them off. And then at 2:20, he talks to Mike Pence, and then he actually puts out the tweet. Mike Pence doesn't have the courage because he knows Mike Pence has said no. And when he tweets that, they start chanting, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence. The Secret Service then has to get Mike Pence out of the building, something we've all seen on videotape, where Mike Pence's detail, one of them has the football, okay? One of them has a nuclear football in the big suitcase there, right? A military guy. And they escort Mike Pence out, and they call Donald Trump, and they say Mike Pence had to be escorted out. You got to call them up. And you know what his answer was, according to Jack Smith's filing? So what? So what? They tried to kill Mike. So what? Like, who needs him? He's disposable. You can get rid of him. You can. I'm pushing a button, okay? I'm pushing a button without any buffers between him and that. He says, so what? He's grotesque. This man is just literally grotesque. So anyway, Rudy Giuliani's daughter knows all of this, okay? She knows how getting sucked into Donald Trump's world will rip your world apart. It will tear you apart. It will tear you down. It will sap every single shred of decency that might be left within ye from ye. This is why Donald Trump reads The Snake. He just did it the other day. I couldn't believe he's still doing it. He's like, do you want me to read The Snake? Should we do it? Should we do like it's a hit? You know what I mean? Like like he sticks and he's gonna sing a renegade. Should we do it? Should we do it? And he makes them cheer for it. And then he reads that poem about a woman who trusts a snake. And in the end, the snake kills her, bites her and poisons her and kills her. And the moral of the story is, I told you I was a snake. And they cheer for this. And he's telling them and showing them. People are disposable in my world. You know, the other day, what did he say? He said, we need one good day of violence in this country. Just one good day of violence. And, all crime will disappear. One good day, just teach them. And the good day for violence, it's against shoplifters. This is who he wants to go all out and do extrajudicial killings on. He wants to kill shoplifters and, deputize people to do it because he saw The Purge. But anyway. Rudy Giuliani's daughter, I'm going to read you her letter is, it's long, so I'll just read you, a little bit of it so you can get the gist of what she's been through watching her father, who used to be revered. I mean, in my family, I will say, he was revered by certain members of my family. They're no longer with us, these members of my family who revered him. So, I don't want to have a contrary opinion to people who can't defend themselves anymore because they're not with us any longer. But suffice it to say, he had a decent reputation in New York City with a lot of New Yorkers for a really entirely too long time, but for a long time. And now that's shot to hell.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
They're not so stupid, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day.
Just making crap up.
Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them. Don't touch them. Let them rob your store. All these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent. The city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events. It's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out, and it will end immediately. End immediately. It'll end immediately.
The Purge president, everybody. The Purge president. There's nothing that death wouldn't solve for him. There's nothing that killing doesn't solve for him. There's nothing that, roughness or brutality or cruelty doesn't solve for him. Everything is solvable if you're just cruel enough. Just cruel enough. All right. So this is Rudy Giuliani's daughter, Caroline Rose Giuliani. She wrote this in Vanity Fair. And I put it in the homework today. So if you want to follow along, it's randirhodes.com. Click on the homework section. It's free, right? You can click through the you thing. It's asking for a donation, but that's okay. Just click on through, and here is her letter. She says, I am constantly, and this is why I'm reading it, because we have this in common, me and her. Not just the New York connection, but this. I am constantly asking myself how America is back here. Even considering the possibility of electing Donald Trump again after all the damage he has caused both in office and since. While Kamala Harris has gained extraordinary momentum by infusing this election with vitality and hope, I worry that too many Americans remain disconnected from the visceral, psychologically draining memory of Trump's deeply destabilizing presidency. If enough people truly remembered what that chaos felt like, another Trump term wouldn't even be on the table. But for those open to seeing the bare and unvarnished truth, there are unmistakable reminders of Trump's destructive trail all around us. And it has broken my heart to watch my dad become one of them. As Rudy Giuliani's daughter, I am unfortunately well suited to remind Americans of just how calamitous being associated with Trump can be, even for those who are convinced he's on their side. Watching my dad's life crumble since he joined forces with Trump has been extraordinarily painful, both on a personal level and because his demise feels linked to a dark force that threatens to once again consume America. Not to disregard individual accountability in the slightest, meaning my father is responsible for the choices he made, but it would be naive for us to ignore the fact that many of those closest to Trump have descended into a catastrophic downward spiral. If we let Trump back into the driver's seat this fall, our country will be no exception. My dad and I have a cartoonishly complicated relationship, but he is still my father. And despite his faults, I love him. I have seen him experience surreal heights and now unfathomable lows. The last thing I want to do is hurt him, especially when he's already down. Plus, we never know how much time we have left with our parents. The totality of that makes this the most difficult piece I have ever written. Yet this moment and this election are so much bigger than any of us. From reproductive rights to the economy to foreign and environmental policy, we need experienced, sane, and fundamentally decent leaders who will fight for us instead of against us, who will safeguard our democracy rather than dismantle it. And as a recently engaged to be married 35-year-old who hopes to feel more joyous than fearful about the potential of becoming a parent myself, I need to advocate for a future worth bringing children into, which is why I am voicing my adamant support for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I'll never forget the night my dad told me he was considering becoming Trump's lawyer. I was with him at the Grand Havana Room, a cigar bar at the top of 666 Fifth Avenue. That's Jared's building. She said an address so fitting, given the unholy alliance my father was about to enter into. Surrounded by thick smoke and powerful men, I ugly cried for a few minutes and then spent the next 3 hours making my vehement case to my father that he should not go down this morally perilous path. It was extremely rare for my father to tell me he was going to do anything before he actually did it, so this moment of connection with him also felt like a cosmic opportunity to do my part to limit the spread of Trump's sinister shadow. I held nothing back. I voiced all of my concerns about Trump's open racism, rampant misogyny, and total lack of empathy. I even told my dad I already feel ashamed of my last name whenever I saw headlines connecting him with Trump, and that this escalation would only deepen that feeling. For the rest of that night, I held on to hope that a daughter's emotional entreaty might actually sway a father. The fantasy was dispelled the next morning when a news story popped into my feed. Rudy Giuliani was going to work for Donald Trump. The pit I felt in my stomach was a warning, but I had no idea how much destruction my father would come to face due to his one-sided fealty to a con man. Growing up in Gracie Mansion, I always knew I had a privileged life, but a particular set of challenges came along with being Rudy Giuliani's daughter. And by that point in my life, I had mostly learned how to navigate them, but nothing I have experienced prepared me for the very public and relentless implosion of my father's life. She goes on to describe a lot of the things she's had to overcome in her life, eating disorders, anxiety disorders, etc., and how she knows how to process complicated feelings, but nothing has prepared her for losing her dad to Donald Trump. She said the scale of his success and notoriety also made it so hard to believe that anything could actually take him down. But after months of feeling the type of sorrow that comes from the death of a loved one, it dawned on me that I am grieving the loss of my dad to Donald Trump, and I cannot bear to lose our country to him too. It is the most poignant and gifted. She's a very good writer, I have to say. Her her words and her sentence structure, her turn of a phrase, her acumen in identifying her own emotions, in identifying her father's fall, and the wonderment of watching a single human being take down Rudy Giuliani, who was America's mayor. The way she phrases things is just so it's so important that you hear her words. And she goes on to say, that this is all being done. She's writing this not because she's Rudy Giuliani's daughter especially, but because her closeness to the whole debacle of Donald Trump, to the whole misogynistic, racist, lack of empathy, self-serving, transactional dude that he is, being president again with the stacked Supreme Court, which she, tackles here in this last paragraph. She talks about the extremist Supreme Court that Trump stacked and how he would take office with full immunity. No checks on his presidential power whatsoever. That should scare the bejesus out of every single person in this country. That the Unitary Executive Project, which I have told you about since W launched it, and it was a Heritage Foundation, idea. It was a Karl Rovian era where they wanted to give all the powers that they could, including congressional power. And they started with, how Congress has the power only we thought, to declare war. Well, they started moving away from that in the 60s during the Vietnam era. And during the Iraq invasion and the Afghanistan debacle, they started getting away from the authorization to use force thing, right? And yes, Congress did actually vote whether or not to take us to war in Iraq. And notably, almost everybody agreed to do it except for, somebody's going to shoot me for forgetting. It's one single Congress member from California, Barbara Lee. Everybody agreed to do it, but they have since gotten away from Congress having the power only, and they want to give even more power to the president. They know the president can't spend money. They want the president to spend money. They know the president can't make law. They want the president to make law. They know that the president can't, use the National Guard on American soil to enforce law. They want the president to use the National Guard on American soil to enforce, people who say posse commentators can't happen. This is what he's about. This is what the plot was. And now it's got a name. It's called Project 2025. It's the unitary executive with immunity.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
People are panic buying toilet paper and all sorts of supplies because of this strike.
Really?
Yes.
And we've seen pictures.
Have you heard about this?
The dock strike? And people have been asking me about it. They tell me that I went to Costco and I got so much toilet paper.
What? Yes, downstairs. Your colleagues.
This is a demand Do they have any problem. extra?
This is an us problem, not because this is not something we should be doing right now.
So no, I mean, look, the things that are going to be in short supply first are beer, imported beer. Bananas. Start hoarding that. And cars. Okay. So, so maybe you have to put off a new car purchase. When you look at some of the things that people are buying that they're really worried about, those are things that are actually made in the United States and travel by train. So this is just our behavior. COVID is so fresh in our mind, and people are scarred and worried about not being able to have goods. So that's what that is right now. This is a behavioral story at the moment, not actually a supply story.
Reality does not demand this kind of conduct, like hoarding things. But
today, no.
I feel like I heard you say that some of these companies have they've seen this strike coming and kind of built up their inventory.
And the big CEOs have all been saying, like, we saw this coming, especially for the holiday shopping season. It would have to be months for a big major retailer to have some shortages on the shelves. But I worry about the small businesses, the medium-sized manufacturers who they've got parts on a ship somewhere, and they've got an assembly line and workers that expect in the next 3 weeks to be using those parts. That's where I think we'll see the first disruptions.
Right now? How does the strike look?
They are really far apart.
Yeah. Okay.
And the union boss is quite defiant here, and the White House says it's not going to step in and break the strike. So these two parties have got to get back to the table.
All right. So a few things about the longshoremen, dock workers, whatever you want to refer to the people that work outside at shipyards, however you want to discuss their title. These are people who make about $29 an hour on average, and they bring home around $60,000 a year. The people that they work for, there's about six. Again, this is always the problem. This is always the problem with giant corporate America, that you whittle down the ownership to about 6 people. It's the same thing with supermarkets. We've gone there. We've shown you how Albertsons and Kroger's are merging, so that instead of 6 grocers, you'll have 4. Okay. Same thing with the containers and the shipyards. 6 major owners in all of America. All of America, 6 major owners. And they have gone from making millions of dollars to making billions of dollars. And the longshoremen, the dock workers, have worked through COVID. Some of them died. Others simply got sick. Okay, and so they're saying, we got you through COVID. We haven't had a new contract in a really stinking 6 years. We haven't had a new contract. Your profits have gone up exponentially, and none of it's trickled down to us. And we would like to see it start trickling down to us. Now, I will say that the guy who is the president of the ILA, the Longshoremen's union, he's a tough guy. He's tough, and I don't know what you're going to think of him, but I'll show you who he is. His name is Harold Daggett. He is, I think this is his 4th term as president of the Longshoremen's union. People say that he wants his legacy to be this next contract. He would like a 77% increase in the wages. Something I don't think I understood until I started really reading deeply about what the issues are here. The issues are not just wages, although it's a huge part of it, because you start at an entry-level salary, right? And you don't get up to the big money, which is like $39 an hour, which sounds like an extraordinary amount of money. $40 an hour for a 40-hour work week. It's still, very middle-class money for very hard work. However, it's not just the wages, because you have to work 6 years on the dock at the lower wage of $24 to even get close to seeing a $39 an hour price point. So 6 years of your life will be spent on that dock. Okay, at $24 an hour, which is, $54,000 a year about. And then there's the issue of automation. And automation is what they're truly concerned about going forward in the future. They want protections against robots doing their work. And, we've already seen, and this was a thing I remember during the 9/11 terrorism, period of my broadcasting life and your life in America, we were talking about, those containers, they could bring in anthrax, and we were like, wait, or bombs, or, and I was like, don't we have cranes that take the containers off of the ships? Don't we have giant cranes? Why can't you put technology on those cranes that scan or x-ray like they do me when I go through the airport to the containers and make sure that the containers aren't full of, whatever, anything problematic. So we do have cranes. We've had them since at least 2001, when I remember first looking into it. And now it's 24 years later, but they're afraid that the actual job that they do running the cranes is going to be replaced by robots also. So they would like some guarantees built into this new contract that says that they're shielded, that their workplace will not use machines to replace human beings because machines don't have families to feed. All right, so that's part of what's going on here. I will tell you what it is that you should, expect, or what you should expect. But let me play you Harold Daggett. He'll tell you in his very unique way. It's not unique to me. I mean, he's going to sound so much like me and everyone I know that it's going to freak you out a little bit. I think a little bit. Very. He sounds very Jersey boy. He sounds very Tony Soprano.
But today's world, it's changing into the future. They're not making millions no more. They're making billions, and they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men, because when they made their most money was during COVID. When my men had to go to work on those piers every single day, when everybody stayed home and went to work. Not my men. They died out there with the virus. We all got sick with the virus. We kept them going. From Canada to Maine to Texas, Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, now the Bahamas, everybody went to work during COVID. Nobody stayed home. Well, I want to be compensated for that. I'm not asking for the world. They know what I want. They know what I want. And if they don't, well, then I have to go into the street and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job.
I think you get the idea. I want a piece of that. I want it for my men.
He is Polly Walnuts.
Isn't he? He's really a character. And those Cartier glasses he's wearing, oh my God. I mean, it's just, it's really the icing on the cake of his costume there. I mean, he really, really looks like Jersey Mafia, okay? He really does.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
Hey, yo, yeah. I mean, he does sound like every Jersey guy I have ever known. Really, it's just there's no question about it. But there's a lot of talk about how this is an October surprise and this is to benefit Donald Trump. And then there's a lot of talk about how, Joe Biden will never go against the union. And this guy knows that. And so he's taking his moment with Joe Biden in order to extract what he wants in this last contract that he's likely to negotiate for his union because he's 78 years old. So, no one knows. No one knows, what the friendships behind the scenes might be. However, the goal is the same, and that is to get these guys paid properly after serving through COVID on the pier in New York and Dallas and over here in the Bahamas. Oh, yo, and Puerto Rico too. Hey. Oh. Oh.
Be ashamed if something happened to your bananas, huh?
It's a nice banana you got over there. You know what he actually said in one of the written interviews I read about him? He said he doesn't have a crystal ball between his legs. You know, he was dying to finish that thought, but he, drifted off. Whatever. I mean, whatever. Christopher, you need to lay off of that stuff, Christopher. Then you end up dead in the Pine Barrens. But this is really interesting. So he has this man, Harold Daggett, who is the union president and has been of the longshoremen for a really long time. This is his fourth term, I believe. He has been on trial previously twice for being a suspected mob member, specifically the Genovese crime family. And what's fascinating about this is he was acquitted of having any connections to any crime family. However, one of his co-defendants, who actually was connected to the Genovese crime family, Mr. Ricci, I believe his name is, he ended up disappeared and dead. He did, his co-defendant. But who knows? It's the longshoremen. You know what I'm saying? I could just tell you, though, that whatever it is that he's, whoever he is, no, that's not right either. Whoever he's friends with, let's put it that way. Whoever his, his pals are, whoever, considers him a friend, and whoever he considers a friend. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He literally represents tens of thousands of longshoremen. And the 6 companies that own all of the docks, that own all of the piers, that own all of the shipping that comes into the United States, they need to sit down and they need to cut a deal. And this is their counterpart, and they better get to it. They better get to it. Because I'll tell you right now, Joe Biden is going to, this is a little upsetting where he goes, oh, Joe Biden's going to pull a Taft-Hartley on me. The Taft-Hartley Act is that when there's a strike, you need to go back to work for 90 days and cool off before you go back to the table to negotiate some more. That's, Joe Biden has said specifically on Taft-Hartley, he would not do it. He would not do it. He's a pro-union president. He's the most pro-union president we've seen in forever. And he is not going to, hobble the ability for this union to get paid properly and to get guarantees in their contract about automation. I saw Biden talk about it.
This natural disaster is incredibly consequential. The last thing we need on top of that is a man-made disaster. What's going on at the ports? We're getting pushback already. We're hearing from the folks regionally that they're having trouble getting product they need because of the port strike. And look, there's a consortium of basically 6 owners that control all the ports from all the way to the East Coast down around the Gulf. And they've made incredible profits, over 800% profit since the pandemic. And the owners are making tens of millions of dollars in this. The last thing they need is to profit off of this. It's time for them to sit at the table and get this strike done.
Yeah, I don't hear him saying anything. In fact, I heard him specifically somewhere along the line in one of these tarmac interviews say he would not invoke Taft-Hartley. He's not going to force them to go back to work to cool down. He's like, when he says there are some people that are calling me already saying that, they can't get, you know who it is. It's the lobby shop. It's the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce is a lobby shop. I know it sounds very, old school chamber, like, corporate, titans all having a lunch or talking about the state of the workforce. No, it's a lobby shop. It represents big business. And they're the ones that are calling Joe Biden saying, finish this, get this over with, pull a Taft-Hartley, make them go back to work and do it now. Now, it would benefit Joe Biden's, Kamala Harris his vice president, if he did that. But he won't do that. He's not going to do that. And so what does America do in response? Do they stand up and say, always look for the union label when you are buying a coat, dress, or blouse? No. They go and they hoard toilet paper and paper towels, which is really, really insane because 90% of toilet paper and paper towels are made in the United States. Meaning they don't have to arrive here on ships. They're here. So, I mean, and I saw it yesterday. I swear to God, that's why I made a point to read about it all last night, even though I had the 165 pages to read of Jack Smith's, here's Donald Trump's criming ahead of the insurrection. But I made it a point to learn about this because I went to Publix, which is my grocery, because I forgot to defrost. Brett will, back me up. I said to him, I didn't defrost. And he goes, don't you have any quick dinners? I'm like what? He goes, like a quesadilla. Oh, well, there's no meat. Right, because I didn't defrost. So I went to Publix to buy chicken. Undefrosted, so I could make chicken cutlets, which is what I ended up making. Delish, simple, breadcrumbs, fast. That's my now faster. But when I was there, I saw these people with shopping carts full of paper towels, toilet paper, and bottled water. Dude, these things are made here. And water comes on a truck, not a ship.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
These dock workers, they're the people who unload the ships, make sure the goods get to where they're going and on their way to our homes, to stores. And they've been through a lot. If you think about COVID, this is obviously not a job that you can do over Zoom. They came in every day. Some of them lost their lives during that period. And what the union is demanding is wages that would help them participate in the enormous profits that the shipping companies have made, especially in recent years. If you start the clock in the middle of the last decade, over about an 8-year period, shipping profits went up by about 350%.
Oh my God.
The wages overall of workers in the country went up by about 42%, but the wages of these workers only went up by about 15%. Their last contract reflected a tougher economic situation. They went certain years without any wage increases at all. So right now, they're negotiating for better wages and other issues, and they have not been able to come to terms, them and the ocean carriers and ports, in order to reach a new contract. That has resulted in this strike, the work stoppage, and it's a big issue. This needs to get resolved. We've been in touch with the different parties, urging them to bridge their differences, in particular urging these ocean carriers, which again have become extremely profitable in recent years, to put forward an offer that is enough to bring the union back to the table and get this hammered out.
I mean, Buttigieg sounds like, he's on the side of the workers. I feel like, the administration currently is on the side of the workers. I know there's rumors that this union boss is doing this at the behest of Donald Trump in order to break supply chains, but I cannot understand why that would be. Donald Trump is not a pro-union person. Donald Trump is not a pro-import person. Donald Trump is a person who would make their jobs go away. And if you told Donald Trump that, like Maersk or the Asia shipping companies, would be put out of business because everything that they ship in, like cars and all that, are going to have tariffs on them so expensive that they won't be able to put them into the United States, he would say, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. And those guys would have no jobs. So siding with him just doesn't seem like a good bet. And this guy, that I'm playing, the Harold Daggett over here, he sounds like he's been around the block a time or two. So I don't think he would, pick Donald Trump over the most pro-union administration that is currently in the White House now, or go with Donald Trump for the next administration when Donald Trump wants to put tariffs on everything that's imported, because that would cut into the workers' profits. That would cut into their wages. So I don't know. Joe on Long Island.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
I'm a union member also. I belong to the Teamsters, 42 years retired. I'm union all the way. I like this guy Haggard, but you know his salary?
Yeah.
You know what this guy makes?
Yeah, like $780-something thousand a year.
No, he gets $900,000 just from the ILA.
No. Here's how it breaks out. He a total of 9, but he gets $780 something from the ILA, the Longshoremen's Union, and then he was the mechanics union's boss, and he gets pension money. He gets another $190 from that. So together, yes, he's a millionaire.
Yeah, he makes quite a bit of money, and he's very good friends with Donald Trump. And like you said,
I don't know
I
that.
don't
I don't
understand
know
the
that.
friendship.
I don't know that, Joe. I saw one photo of the two of them together.
He has asked his members to pray for Trump.
He's asked his members
meetings. At his union meetings, yes.
I've not seen that.
Oh well, it's on record.
Well, I've not seen it. I'm not doubting you, but I mean, why would this guy tell me? What's the logic in it? You have Donald Trump who wants to put tariffs on every single import, like a blanket. These aren't targeted tariffs on Chinese cars. I don't know how many Chinese cars you got driving around Long Island, but I don't have any down here. But I'm just saying he's not like into targeted tariffs. Donald Trump wants to put blanket 30%, 40% across the board tariffs on imports, right? How does this guy Daggett think that benefits him? And also, he's got to negotiate right now, right? Right now. So how does this help him? I don't understand.
Right. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. But, this guy does have a connection with Trump. And like at his union meetings, he's always praising him, and he tells them to pray for Trump. So... I take it for that. But I think this strike is going to end real quick.
Do you? Why?
Because the company's got to sit down. Like you said, there's 6 companies there. They got to sit down with them. He's got everything on his side right now. He's got a president that's pro-union.
Right.
All right. His members they start at $20 an hour.
Right.
They're on that pay for 6 years.
Right.
And they gradually go up to $39 to $69 an hour.
Well, 39, but he wants them to go to 69.
Right. That's what his plan is.
Yeah.
Right. There's all different levels on that. There's people that make more money depending on what job they have.
Right. But when, to get to the big $39 an hour pay package, you have to have worked on the dock for 6 years.
Right.
So, I mean, people are looking at this final number, currently $39 an hour, and they go, that's a lot of money. It's not.
That's not.
No. It's not.
That's not.
Right.
That's not even middle. You're trying to get into middle class, or maybe middle class there.
Right.
I know people that don't make that, and they don't live as good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the idea that they worked through COVID, that they literally took the
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm sorry, but it is time for them to get their money now, right?
Absolutely.
And they're not the only union that has gone on strike. So this guy, he talks very tough, okay? I will tell you. He likes the way he sounds. There's no doubt about it. And he's got it. He likes his gold chain. He likes his Cartier glasses. I hear he had a yacht. I don't know. Whatever. He likes the way he comes off. But the truth of the matter is he's representing hundreds of thousands of people who are depending on him. And they feel like they can depend on him. So I think he'll get it done for them. But I don't think he's, mobbed up. I think he might think, he might sound like it, but sounds like every Jersey guy I ever knew. Truly.
Have a good day.
You too. Rich in Denver.
Hey, Randy. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Something's already happened to the bananas out here in Denver at King Stupid. King Soopers. I went into a higher income tax area town, and the bananas were completely gone.
Gone.
Now, I haven't been in yet, completely gone. Now, I haven't been over to my neighborhood, which is a much lower income, lots of persons of color that I live, kind of like your Haitian employers over there. That's very much
my Haitian neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is Haitian.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been over to the King Stupids by me, to check if that's true. But I heard another thing, and this was, I think Bob Seska said this. That guy, for what it's worth, his guys are seeking a 50% pay raise, and he doesn't want to give that to them for whatever reason. Daggett.
That's not true. His guy, they've already offered a 50% pay raise. The carriers and the port owners have already offered a 50% pay raise. Daggett turned it down. He wants a 77% pay raise. Something tells me it's going to land at around 60%.
Clear for fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Yo, I just looked up whether or not this Daggett man over here told everybody to pray for, Donald Trump over there. No, it was, what happened was there was the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania, and he was just sickened that a political rally turned into, a battlefield, and he asked his members to pray for all of the victims in that shooting, because, a man died that day. It wasn't Donald Trump. He had his ear nicked, but even so. That was it. And there is just that one photo of Harold Daggett with Donald Trump. I believe it was at Magaloco. And if you look at that photo, you'll see there's photos of Donald Trump over there with Kim Jong-un. I mean, it's a very sick photo. It's a very strange office he's got going on in Florida at Magaloco, where you can't drive within a 10-mile radius now of Magaloco. We're all being punished because the orange Jesus lives in Marjorie Merriweather Post's old house. I swear to God. All right, Karen in California.
Yeah, hey, Randy, it's Karen in Oakland, California. Like a huge, transportation
stop
right here. San Francisco, Oakland. Direct to China. But anyway, I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener.
Oh, wait.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, you're my homegirl, too. We'll talk about that another day because I know you don't have a lot of time. But let me tell you something. It is dangerous working on the docks. And to shock me with the fact that it takes 6 years to change your base pay.
Yes.
All the while, you could just die.
Yes.
So basically, all of the dock workers who are trying to reach 6 years, I don't know, the risk is pretty high. And they don't get the same kind of hazard pay as the crane workers do or the scuba divers workers do. You know what I mean?
No, I think it is dangerous work. I think it's cold. I think it's dangerous. I think storms actually impact their hourlies, their ability to work. There's a lot of stuff that goes, unnoticed about that job. So, but
did you see the series? Go ahead.
I was just going to say they're not the only people who have gone on strike. In the last year or two since Biden has been president, because Biden is very pro-union, and so you had you had service employees, they got their money. You had the auto workers go on strike, they got their money.
They're not going to go on strike if they're in fear, right?
Right. They're gonna
go on strike when they have somebody who's got their back, like Bill Biden
and Pete Buttigieg, who is the Secretary of Transportation, who I'm sure is
awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's at these meetings, and he seems to be advocating for the workers, not for the carriers. So,
right. And then, oh my gosh, Biden mentions the cartel. I mean, really? Okay, thanks for let's get started with the cartel, and then maybe if we have a decent administration, we could really get them to start paying their just due and making sure they pay the people, for God's sake. Pay the people.
I know.
Did you see the film? Did you see the series, The Black Sails?
No.
Oh, well, it's horrible. It's about the Pirates of the Caribbean, basically, right? And a lot of ropes and sails and things, and John Long Silver getting his leg cut off, and it's really, really violent. And it's very, very dangerous, right? To be a pirate fighting against the British, the cartel, right?
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you right now, that seems probably a little safer than the way I'm just saying the dock workers. I just want to bring to the attention how hazardous it is to just be on the dock.
I don't know if anybody's
you're not
ever
getting the same hazard pay.
I don't know if anybody's ever even been on a dock. Okay, I don't know how many people have ever been to a shipyard, and I'm not talking about your cruise port, which you could learn a few things at the cruise port.
Not the ferry building on the Embarcadero, no.
No, right. But you could learn a couple of things if you were at a cruise port. You could see how gigantic those chains are that connect the rope to the dock for when it's actually in port. I mean, people could and how hard those people work to get the ships into the little berth there safely, and then to tie it up and tie it down. And then
they are frontline soldiers.
They really are. I mean, it's hard work. It really is. But most work that you can't zoom in, like I can zoom this, right? I could do that. But most work that you can't zoom, like being a nurse, being a police officer, being a dock worker, being a service industry employee, cutting meat, cleaning up the freaking slaughterhouse after hours. These are not pretty jobs. These are not safe jobs. These are not jobs that are well-paid jobs.
But they are essential.
They're extraordinarily essential. They're everything to us.
Exactly. You know what I had to do? I got a chance to do? Our flight to Jamaica had to stop over in Panama, so we took the day of it. And I had a chance to go down to the Panama Canal. It's like a whole museum and everything.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to use the simulator across, the canal. I mean, I'm here in California. China to Oakland's not a problem, but if you're going to go to New York and New Jersey, you got to go through the canal. And I say that everybody should go down there and check it out, because you can understand the great mass of products and technology they're carrying on these ships, and it's huge and heavy and wide, and they're carrying it across these straits. It's just an amazing thing that's actually happening.
The whole thing is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And when you look at shipping around the world, you can see how hard those dock were. I was I think it was in Amsterdam or Copenhagen. I can't remember where it was, but I was at the dock because I was on a cruise ship. Okay, I wasn't going trekking across Europe. I was on a freaking cruise.
No, you were glamping. I get it.
Right, I was glamping. Good way to put it. And so when we pulled into the port, I think in Copenhagen or Amsterdam, I mean, it's nothing but dock workers with Maersk containers. These things are gigantic, and they're loaded with billions of dollars of computer chips and cell phones and cars in some of them, and I mean billions of dollars. And these guys are risking their lives to make sure that the manufacturers and the sellers on the other end, that they're navigating these crazy oceans in the middle of winter, out there on the docks.
High seas, I believe they call it.
Oh my God. And the work, it's so rote, you know what I mean? They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And without these guys, we don't get any of this. We don't get any cars. We don't get any BMWs.
I like your idea about the technology of the cranes to recognize, to be able to scan and to know what's going on inside of those containers.
Yeah.
To keep docks safe, right?
Yeah.
Especially in today's tumultuous world.
Yes.
But particularly since we have a lot of children and women being trafficked in those things too.
Ew.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, no, this is not new to you.
Yes.
It is not.
It is.
Okay, yeah.
No.
I don't know it as a fact. It's just
no.
I was just bringing it up to trigger your memory.
No.
There is something to do with container ship human trafficking.
No.
I know. I'm only basing it on Donald Sutherland's, thing.
Everybody should watch that. It was amazing.
All right.
I didn't even know about trafficking.
I mean,
then,
it's like,
but I'm just saying.
I get that it moved you. It's like Donald Trump has watched The Purge, and this is where he got his idea for a day of violence, you know? So
I do know. That's their documentaries.
Yes, but keep a very bright line between fiction and reality.
I do. I'm a very reasonable person.
You sound reasonable.
But I do like to talk about trafficking because I think it is maybe not in a container, but maybe just in a nice glamping cruise ship.
Oh, no.
So it's all part of that.
No.
Oh, come on, Randy.
Oh, stop it, Karen.
Okay, we're going to have to just agree to disagree.
You got it.
All right, love.
Bye.
Keep doing what you're doing. We love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. All right. So, no. No. All right. So here are the things. Don't hoard the toilet paper. It's made in America. Don't hoard the paper towels. They're made in America. The things you might go without is exactly what Rich and Denver noticed. Bananas. Know why? Almost 100% of the bananas that we get in the United States are grown in subtropical climates, like Costa Rica. Okay, like Panama. Okay, bananas are. It's like that's like the old mafia movies. Okay, with the American Fruit Company. It is like that. Imported beer. If that's your thing, go buy some because you might not get the beer that's imported. However, if you're like me and you drink a Corona, that comes from Mexico. And guess what? Grupo Modelo brings everything in by truck and train. So your beer will not be disturbed. But if you like Peroni from Italy, let's say, it might be disturbed.